What's up guys, CEO here with week 1 of the NES. This is our first week of the Little Cup tournament. If you missed the introduction video, basically it's a short 4-week tournament where I'm basically just going to be taking on a couple of opponents from the NES with teams that we drafted, but it was like a free draft, so we were all allowed to draft whatever we wanted as long as it fit like the tier structure that we made. So it's a nice blend of like a free draft and a tiered draft, because we didn't really want to have like a full draft for like a full week tournament, but we also didn't want everyone just drafting teams of tier 1 and then making the tournament boring. So this week we are going up against my good friend Beard, aka the New York Aqua Jets, aka the opponent that we now open all of our seasons against. It's always fun because him and I always play close. He has a very unpredictable play style, and I mean that in a good way. He likes fucking with me, basically, and it ends up working pretty well in his favor a lot of the time, so I can't even be mad because it works for him, obviously. This week, I was definitely expecting him to bring Dratini. Wow, messed that up badly. I wasn't really expecting to see Azrael. It's cute as fuck, but it also is very weak. So even by Little Cup standards, I wasn't really expecting it to do very much this game. I was surprised to see Nummel also, just because I had Poliwag as well as some other stuff that could hit it pretty well. I also have Aqua Jet on Anorith, which will be nice, I think. Spoilers, it will be nice, actually. So getting into the stuff that I brought, I have an Assault Vest Mudbray with Close Combat, Heavy Slam, Earthquake, and Payback. Payback is an interesting move. If I end up going slower than something, I'll basically do a base 100 damage attack to them if they hit me first, as well as getting the stamina boost, which is kind of cool. Next up we have Mienfoo, which has a Life Orb, Regenerator, U-Turn, Drain Punch, Rock Tomb, and Knockoff. One thing I actually did want to specify with the Mienfoo that I thought was kind of cool, I gave it 9 HP IVs instead of the usual 31. The reason I did this is because it knocked it down to 19 HP. In Little Cup, when you have a Pokemon with Life Orb, it's really beneficial to have 19 HP if you can. Because the Life Orb does 10% of your health rounded down. So if you have 20 or more HP, it'll just do 2 health every time. But if you have 19 health, it truncates it down to 1, so you end up only getting 5% recoil off of your Life Orb hits. And combined with Regenerator, that's just absolutely busted. That's one of the main reasons I wanted Mienfoo. But yeah, I expect this thing to be a pretty heavy offense for me. Next up is Poliwag with Berry Juice, Water Absorb, Thief, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, and HP Grass. Berry Juice recovers 20 HP after you go down below a certain amount, and since most Pokemon don't have more than 20 HP in Little Cup, it ends up being like by far the best recovery item, like bar none actually. And then Thief is a cool move that's used a lot in Little Cup, where you end up stealing your opponent's item if you don't have one, and since Berry Juice is an item that is consumed and then I can't recover it, I figured Thief might be kind of cool if there's like a Choice Scarf or something that I want to steal, and then it's just otherwise offensive. Next up we have Purloin with a Violite, Prankster, Thunderwave, Copycat, Foul Play, and Taunt. Thunderwave, Copycat, and Taunt are all affected by Prankster, so I actually have priority on all of them, which is kind of cool. I have a little bit of speed to be able to outspeed some stuff and hit it with Foul Play if I need to, but for the most part this is just here for Prankster fun, because everybody loves Prankster. Next up we have a Choice Scarf Litwick with Energy Ball, Flamethrower, Shadow Ball, and HP Ice. It's basically the exact same thing you would run as a Chandelure if it was a Choice Scarf set. And finally we have Rock EMZ, Anorith, Battle Armor, Stealth Rocks, Aqua Jet, X-Scissor, and Rock Slide. Despite the offensive set, it's actually pretty defensive, just because I wanted to give it enough health and stuff to be able to take hits and switch into stuff. So leading this game, I'm going to go ahead and lead Mienfoo. I thought about leading Purloin and just getting off a Thunder Wave on something, but I realized I could just lead Mienfoo and U-Turn if I didn't like my matchup, or just go for a knockoff or something if it was a good matchup. Unfortunately, this does not qualify as a good matchup. I also did not remember at the beginning of the game if he actually had an item. It was one thing that I meant to check for at the beginning of the game. If you rewind it, you can see that he did have an item, but I was scared of Acrobatics just coming out and spamming my team because I don't really have a switch into it. My best switch into it is Mudbray, so I'm going to go ahead and go for that. Little Sebastian loses his assault vest, which kind of sucks. Makes me a little susceptible to Azrael and Nummel, maybe even Duskull also. Sorry. So it makes me a little bit weaker against the rest of his team. Even though I'm Spadef invested, it is kind of lame to lose that turn 1. Luckily for me, he has no switch in whatsoever to a heavy slam here, or at least a heavy slam into something else, so I'm just going to go for heavy slam. He goes for a rock slide, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if he predicted me to switch or not, or if he was just trying to get damage off, but I do resist that because I'm a ground type. Basically get a free +1 to my defense, which is nice, and Archon's gone, which is really nice for Mienfoo, who is one of my main forms of offense this game, so now basically whenever Mienfoo comes in it gets a kill. And not to that degree, but pretty much. So he goes Carvahna here. I actually end up staying in here because I think at +2 I'm able to take a waterfall if he ends up going for that. He goes for Dark Pulse, which is very surprising to me. Really good prep on his part, actually, because I did not in any way, shape, or form prepare for a special Carvahna. I kind of just assumed it was going to be the regular, like, basically a Sharpedo, but a Carvahna. But that's okay. I'm now trying to figure out what to do with the special Carvahna, though, because I did not plan for it at all. So I end up just going... Oh, he gets speed boost, yeah. He ends up going Purloin here because I'm a dumbass. I'm just going to go ahead and watch this part and say that I completely forgot for like a half a second that Thunder Wave would not work on Carvahna. I was like, oh, I'll just Thunder Wave it, get it down to neutral, and then probably kill it off with a Foul Play. I was planning on being able to do a ton of damage with Foul Play, but because he's special, it's actually not going to do that much. But it doesn't really matter because I go for Thunder Wave. He's immune. I feel like a complete idiot, and he gets a Scald. Thankfully, it doesn't burn, so Foul Play can at least do something later in the game. But I'll go ahead and try to figure out what to do here, because Carvahna is quickly setting up in my face, and I don't really have a great switch into it, especially now that I know that it is like fully special. I hope to eat a Scald there, but he just goes for Dark Pulse. Thankfully, Berry Juice heals me right back up. So I should be able to take another Dark Pulse and at least get a Scald off on this thing. Or HP Grass actually is what I clicked here. But unfortunately he goes for Black Hole Eclipse. It gets a crit. I don't really know if the crit mattered. If it was a low roll I could have potentially lived, I guess. If that 60% or whatever was a high roll from the last Dark Pulse, because little cup rolls are ridiculous and it's like 20% every direction or something. But the crit absolutely ensured that I wouldn't be able to get the HP Grass off there. So Poliwag goes down. Carvana's at +3 or ×3 speed, which is really bad. So I just have to go for a Drain Punch here. Hope he doesn't burn with the Scald. Of course he does, because every time you hope for a burn, you don't get it, but every time you don't want to burn, it happens to you all the time. Drain Punch still kills because Carvahna has like 5 HP or 5 defense, and I'm like not... I don't think I'm actually exaggerating with that. I think it does have like literally 5 defense. So I basically get all my health back, which is nice. Even burned, Mienfoo does quite a lot of damage to his team, so I'm not really too threatened by it here. Duskull comes in, and I just decide that I'm going to go for a knockoff here because I don't really want this thing getting a Will-O-Wisp off on anything else on my team, and I don't want him reading my hard Litwick play and going for a Shadow Ball or something. So I go for a knockoff, which still does pretty decent damage. If I wasn't burned, that might have potentially killed still. He goes for Calm Mind, which is interesting. I can actually stay in here if I want to and just click knockoff twice, but I don't want him to have Pain Split or something like that and just make it really annoying. I could have... I actually realized this like right after the battle, but I could have actually gone Purloin here and copycatted his Calm Mind and just set up alongside him and then just went for Foul Play whenever he was dead. I could have done that, but there wouldn't have really been much reason for me to at this point, because being Calm Mind set up like that didn't really help me too much in my opinion. It could have been an interesting play where I got to use his own Calm Minds against him, but I opted not to do that. Instead I just go for U-turn, and again, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, 5% recoil off a Life Orb is awesome, especially with Regenerator. Basically it just makes Mienfoo hit super fucking hard all the time. He goes for a Calm Mind again as I go hard Anorith because I just want to hit him on the physical side and get rid of this thing. Rock Slide honestly probably would have killed here, but on the off chance he was like max HP, max defense, or something like that, which is pretty likely honestly when you're running a Calm Mind set to just go full defense the other way. I just went ahead and used Rock EMZ. I didn't want to miss also, so Anorith gets a kill, which is cool. Duskull is gone, which is even cooler because I mean, like, I had a lot for it, honestly, but it's just nice to have it out of the way, I guess. So Numel comes in, doesn't know I have Aqua Jet, times 4 effective, even though I'm not invested at all, means that it's able to basically just sit there and not take it that well. He goes for Stockpile, I think showing off his simple set and getting times 2 on both defenses, which is really cool. Unfortunately for him, Aqua Jet's still going to kill, probably. So I'm just going to go for it again, force him to switch out. Still does pretty decent damage to Azrael too. I missed the Rock Slide, but there's not really anything this thing can do to me. I think he predicted me to switch there and just get a free knockoff off on something, but I didn't really have a reason to switch, in my opinion. Azrael's a normal fairy, not a water fairy, or a water type even, like the rest of its evolution line. So I actually resist it with Anorith, as well as being pretty bulky. So I just go for a Rock Slide here again, and because it's stab, and because Azrael doesn't really have very good defense, it just drops right away. I'm sorry, little bouncy guy, but you now have to leave the layout. So Azrael drops, and he just goes Munchlax here, which is the thing I've been terrified of all game. I don't want this thing to be a Curse Lax and end up just like completely stalling out my team, especially since Mienfu's burned. I can't have this thing like really set up at all. So I just have to go hard Purloin here and potentially try to, my plan was to potentially copycat his curses if he had them, because I would have guaranteed like always outsped this thing, so I could have just copycatted his curses until he went for an attack, and then I could have just went for foul play and done decent damage. He goes for Whirlwind, which is interesting, and phases me out into Litwick, so I figure I might as well just get damage off on this thing while I'm in here. He shows he's probably thick bat with the fact that did absolutely nothing, and then he phases me into Mienfu, which is pretty much best case scenario. I get to see how much a Drain Punch does. He shows Leftovers, which is interesting because in my experience I actually don't really like Leftovers too much in Little Cup. It just seems like it's a little too minimal of recovery for me per turn. But Drain Punch is still a 2-hit KO, which is really nice. I was really worried that this thing was going to take, like, a ton. Unfortunately, it did take a ton from that return and ended up dropping, so I wasn't able to actually get the 2-hit KO. Pretty surprising. I thought he was going to try to recover there or something. But now I basically just have my little 3 guys versus Munchlax, because Numel in the back is basically taken out by Aqua Jet. So as long as Anorith's alive, I shouldn't really have to worry. I go for a foul play here to just get the damage off. Unfortunately, I just barely miss out, and he goes for a rest, which absolutely sucks. Foul play still looks like it could be a 3-hit KO, so I'm just going to keep going for it. I end up living a return, which is pretty impressive. All of that bulk into my Purloin seems to be helping. Unfortunately, he actually gets the exact 2 rolls he needed on Sleep Talk to get the return to be able to kill me. Good luck on his part. But unfortunately, Purloin drops before I'm able to kill it off with the next foul play. So now I have to go Anorith and basically hope that Rock Slide kills. Thank fuck it does, because otherwise that might have been bad. And then Anorith's just able to clean up at the end of the game. So great game, Beard. A lot of fun. I feel like I have fun in every single Little Cup battle I do, but I also have fun in every battle I have with him, so combined it just made for a pretty fun opening to the tournament, in my opinion. I was pretty surprised to not see Dratini, in my opinion, just because I thought that it matched up pretty well against my team, especially since I did not bring Mime Jr. Mime Jr. was in my original team build, but I opted for, I think I opted for Litwick instead because I wanted to choice Scarfer and just to go more offense. But yeah, great battle, Beard. A lot of fun, and good luck the rest of the season. Next week we, I believe, take on the Detroit Darkrise, if I remember right. Coached by MDS MVP, but that'll be fun, because we always seem to have another opponent that always plays us really close and always plays us really well. So I'm gonna go because I'm kind of just rambling at this point, I guess. But have a good week, guys, and hopefully I'm back on a regular recording schedule now, question mark, maybe. But I'll see you guys later. Bye.